Brandon Aiyuk on his own TikTok while he is blogging an entire offseason, I guess, of conversation about contract with the San Francisco 49ers. He literally says they don't want me back while talking to Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels then starts screaming. So now everybody's like, well, he's going to be a Commander all of a sudden. Brandon Aiyuk is friends with the rookie quarterback that was just drafted because their time at Arizona State. He told them that he's no longer in Niners. Jaden Daniels, as a rookie quarterback who hasn't played a game yet, has enough pull to say, hey, we need to go get Aiyuk. Maybe that's the case. What's happening over there? Obviously an incredible ball player. We'd love to have him here in Indianapolis. Obviously the Commanders would love to have him. I'm sure there's like 30 other teams that would love to have him. How's this end up, and how did we get here, Shefty?
Well, I think what happened here is, let me state for the record that the 49ers absolutely do want Brandon Aiyuk back, despite what he says, but they don't want him back, as he thinks, at the price that he's seeking. And so that's where the breakdown occurs at this point in time. They've had contract talks throughout the offseason, and at one point it seemed like they were closing in on a deal only to see the wide receiver market explode. We've seen Jalen Waddle come in with a very strong deal that averages about $28 million guaranteed, or $28 million a year with a lot of guaranteed money. Justin Jefferson comes in at 35. And I think once some of these wide receiver deals started getting done, the Eagles did both their receivers, I think the number might have shifted in Brandon Aiyuk's mind. But the Niners have always wanted him back. There have been conversations at various points with other teams where they asked if he were available. The Niners never were serious about trading him, and they want him back. But the problem is they can't get a deal done right now. So Brandon Aiyuk is interpreting that as they don't want me anymore. No, they want him here. They just don't want him at the number that he wants to be there at, with what the wide receivers are going for in this day and age. And yes, everybody knows he played with Jaden Daniels at Arizona State. At one point prior to the draft, the Commanders, Niners had some discussions that never went anywhere about a potential trade. And the Niners wanted to hold on to him, and they still want to hold on to him. And they're not looking to deal him. Now, could his stance, his public comments, the lack of any contract talks in recent days, weeks, influence their decision later on? Sure. But this is a team that is trying to win a Super Bowl. They're not trying to move on from Brandon Aiyuk. And we see what the Bengals are doing with T. Higgins. He's not going to get a long-term deal done there, but they're going to hold on to him this season, and he'll become a free agent after the year. And I think it's a similar situation where the Niners aren't looking to move on from Brandon Aiyuk. They do want him there, but there's a disconnect on the price that he believes and they believe he should be paid for this upcoming season.
In T. Higgins' vlog, we saw him basically understand that he's going to be with the Bengals for 1 year. Like it was almost like he acknowledged, like, I'm going to be there for 1 year. This is how the Bengals operate. This is how the Bengals operate. But I assume Aiyuk is thinking to himself, everybody's getting paid around me in San Francisco, but me. So I think he has a little different view on, like, yeah, this is going to be my last year. I'm going to play out this franchise tag, and then I'm going to move on and go somewhere else. It's an interesting.
Well, he's not on the franchise tag.
No, I'm sorry. Last year on his contract. Sorry, last year.
And by the way, they could tag him after this year. And what's the franchise tag? 22. So he's in a little bit of a tougher position here. And by the way, like, if you're the Niners, you're not just going to let Brandon Aiyuk walk out the door without tagging him and having some say in getting something back for him.
This is one of those situations where we're all reminded that, like, in a lot of people's minds, the NFL, the NBA definitely, player-driven league. It's like, this is one of those situations where it's like, San Francisco 49ers hold all the cards here.
Bingo.
They hold all the cards right here. And that sucks for Aiyuk, but that's just the reality of the situation.
Well, when you've got a year left in your contract and the team has its franchise tag at its disposal.
2 franchise tags, remember? You go back to back. You can't franchise tag somebody 3 times.
Right.
You can franchise tag them 2 times. That's what Lamar Jackson conversation. Mm-hmm. So they got 3 years of Brandon Aiyuk right now.
Right. And I'd have to add up the franchise tag for 2 years and what it would be, but I'll bet you it's less than what they're offering right now.
What is it? It's 25% more than what you made the year before, or if the average of the top 5 at your position has changed enough for it to go up.
I'm going to go. I think the franchise tag for T. Higgins this year is 21.8. So you have to figure that's going to go up next year. I'd have to make some calls, and I don't have that information right at the tip of my fingertips. But
Chase deal, CD deal, those
Michael
top
Pittman's
5.
up at 27.
Pittman,
like everybody's going up. So you would assume.
So let's say the franchise tag number is 24, 25 next year. I'm guessing off the top of my head.
Yeah.
26.
It's still not going to be the number that he wants it to get to. And then they'll be able to franchise tag him again the next year. I wonder if Aiyuk knows that, because I'm just realizing that. I didn't know.
He knows it. He knows it, but this is his time right now to make noise, to create an issue.
I hope he gets a deal.
Right?
Get to New England, brother.
I hope he gets to Indianapolis. Make more noise. Well, no, I'm joking.
By the way, at this time a couple of years ago, I do believe Deebo Samuel stated that he wanted to be traded. He wasn't going to play in San Francisco again, right? So you can do and say whatever you want at this time of the year. Let's see what happens when everybody's reporting to camp and training camp's underway.
What was that? That was a FaceTime he was on. Was it him that said it or somebody else? The other person? I think it was the other person on the FaceTime.
Yeah.
But he was certainly associated with it. And I think it was AJ?
AJ
Brown was on that face. Yeah, there's been a lot of noise out of the Niners team. And somehow, when the season gets back together, I mean, even if you got a quarterback working out on a third field during training camp, somehow whenever they get on the field, they still go and play great. Success brings money for everybody, but not necessarily at the team that you're at. Hopefully they're able to figure out Aiyuk, or if not, come right here to the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, hold on. Wait, before we move on from that, every team that has any sort of wide receiver question/need would want Brandon Aiyuk.
Oh, yes.
Every one of them.
Yep.
Okay. But why would the 49ers, who are vying for a Super Bowl title, move on from a guy like Brandon Aiyuk right now to get a draft pick in 2025 when they could tag him after the year and conceivably trade him at that point and get his services this year at a relatively cap-friendly deal? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, we want him at the Colts at a cap-friendly deal. And we let him know, we'll pick up the contract and then we'll pay you about $24 million next year. It'll be a one-year deal. You'll be forced to sign it. And then the next year, 28 is pretty good. And then you'll be able to be a free agency. That's literally the world that Aiyuk's in. I hope they figure it out before the season happens.